My name is Audrey Caldwell, and I'm 30, old enough to know that the worst betrayals don't arrive with slammed doors. They arrive smiling, holding a casserole, using words like concern. I live in a 1920s Victorian in West Hartford that creaks the way old houses do. Honestly, like a person with secrets. Original floors, a sunroom that burns gold around 4 p.m., and below everything, a stone cellar that keeps a perfect 55 degrees. I renovated it last year into a proper wine cellar. Climate control, custom racking, soft lighting so the labels don't fade. When the AC kicks on, it sounds like the first exhale after you've been holding your breath too long. I'm not casual about wine. I started during a semester in Bordeaux and never really stopped. I earned my WSET level 2 and I'm working toward level 3. I track pours, meals, tasting notes. 2 or 3 glasses a week, sometimes none. People spend more on golf. I spend mine on Burgundy. My collection sits at around 850 bottles, curated over 8 years. Some $20 weeknight treasures, some eye-wateringly rare. My pride is a 1982 Chateau Margaux I won at auction, and promised myself I'd open the day something impossible finally felt safe. 2 weeks ago, my parents, Edward and Susan, visited to see how the house turned out. I wanted to show them the cellar. I wanted them to see who I'd become. Careful, disciplined, building a life bottle by bottle. The moment we stepped off the last stair, my mother covered her mouth. My father went stone quiet. They looked at the racks like they were hospital monitors. Audrey, Mom said, touching a label like it might burn her, this is a lot. It's organized, I said, light, cheerful. Cabernet in the back, Burgundies by appellation. That corner's the Loire. Dad cut me off. No normal person needs this. His hand made a small, helpless circle in the air. You're hoarding alcohol. I laughed because the alternative was letting my stomach drop through the slate. It's not hoarding, it's a collection. I drink less than... Addicts love spreadsheets, he said. Your grandfather kept a journal too. He died at 58. The way he said addicts landed like a stamp on my forehead. I told them about humidity control, about wines that appreciate, about charity tastings. I pulled out my cellar app. Mom wouldn't look. Dad said it was statistical manipulation. In the space of a minute, he transformed 8 years of discipline into a diagnosis he could say in one breath. We climbed back upstairs, me with a bright voice that didn't belong to me, where I'd set out a cheese plate and planned to open a village-level Burgundy. They wouldn't touch it. Mom held my hands and cried. Dad talked about guardrails. Then the ass came, floating in like it had always been there. You're one person in a big house, Mom said gently. Your sister is crammed in a rental with 3 kids. You could come home for a while and get help. Let Chelsea and Derek move in. It would give you space to reset. I know when a conversation has already been had without me. The words fit too smoothly. The phrases sounded borrowed, from pamphlets, from TV interventions, from someone who promised tidy outcomes. Give my house to Chelsea, I said slowly, because I have shelves and discipline. Dad's jaw tightened. Because you need help. We spoke to a counselor. Conservatorships aren't punitive, they're protective. There it was, the ugly word smuggled under concern. No, I said, absolutely not. They left in a flurry of wounded sighs and we love yous that felt less like love and more like leverage. On her way out, Mom slid a glossy brochure across my table. High-functioning alcoholics. A path to healing. My fingers went cold around the stapled edge. The next morning, my phone detonated. Chelsea. Hey, sis. Mom and Dad looped us in. We're all here for you. The cellar looks like hoarders. Kind of a wake-up call, right? Derek found a great clinic with horses. Also, we've been browsing Zillow. Your basement would make an amazing playroom once the bottles are out. Derek. Not to pressure, but we found a buyer who can take the whole collection. Quick and painless. We'll handle logistics so you can focus on healing. Mom, AA meeting's near you at 7 p.m. tonight. I'll come with you. Dad, proud of you already. Real courage is admitting the truth. It didn't stop. Aunts I hadn't seen in a year posted prayers on Facebook, carefully nonspecific. My cousin shared a mindfulness quote about loving the addict, hating the addiction. Someone tagged a notary in the comments with, "They helped our family." The tag stuck in my brain like a burr. I started documenting. Screenshots, voicemails, email headers. A little folder grew claws on my desktop named When They Pretend I Agreed. Ethan, my boyfriend, came over that night. He cooked in my kitchen the way he does, sliding behind me with a calm touch, asking nothing but making sure I ate. Ethan doesn't drink much. He doesn't have to. He asked to see the cellar, and I told him no, not right now, because it was starting to feel like a room full of evidence instead of a room full of joy. He held my eyes. Tell me what's true. What's true is I'm scared, and I'm angry, and I'm humiliated. My voice cracked on the last word. They decided I'm not me. He nodded, the way someone nods at a cliff they can't move. Then we change what we can. New locks, cameras, a lawyer on retainer, and you keep notes like you always do. I hired a locksmith the next morning. We swapped the deadbolt for a smart lock only I control. The old emergency key went into a drawer with a post-it mistake. At lunch, my phone lit again. Sabrina Holt, Ethan's ex, calling. We're cordial, not close. My stomach tightened as I picked up. Hey, she said, awkward, breathy. Your mom called me? Of course she did, I said, and the laugh that came out made Sabrina go quiet. She wanted dirt, Sabrina said. I told her you once ordered a glass of water at a bar and tipped 20%. I bit down on a thank you. Sabrina never liked being cast as anyone's villain, even when we were enemies by default. Did she ask about Ethan? She asked if he drinks, if he's a bad influence, if he's controlling. It was gross. Thank you for telling me, I said. There was a beat of surprising solidarity before she hung up. That night, I lay awake listening to my house breathe. I heard the soft click of the new lock at random hours in my head. I watched my parents' faces in the cellar like a looped film. Every scene ended with that brochure on my table, a paper crown they wanted to press onto my skull. 2 days later, I left for Boston. Quarterly client meetings, spreadsheet comfort, the kind of problem I can solve. On the highway, the sky was clean and hard blue, the kind that makes you think about fresh starts. I texted Ethan when I got there, then turned my phone face down and slept like someone had finally flipped the right breaker. The second morning, the client canceled. Family emergency. The third day was suddenly gone, and the hotel room looked like a waiting room. Home tugged at me in a way that felt like hunger. I packed, checked out, and drove back in that late afternoon light that makes New England look like a postcard pinned to the present. At 8:07 p.m., I turned onto my street and saw 3 things that shouldn't have been there. My sister's SUV, Derek's truck, and my front door, wide open, spilling light. I didn't even put the car in park before I was out and running. The first box I saw was packed with bottles wrapped in newspaper, labels I knew like old friends peeking through. My stomach flipped. Somewhere below, the cellar AC exhaled, steady, unaware. Hey! Chelsea's voice rose from the basement, bright, like we were at a party. You're early. Derek's laugh echoed, and another man's voice. 2, actually, both unfamiliar, both efficiently calm, like people who get paid to make problems disappear. My phone was already in my hand. This time, when I said 911, my voice didn't shake. Downstairs, Chelsea grinned, like a counselor at the start of a trust fall. Don't panic, she said. Step 1 is removing triggers. Behind her, 2 wine buyers paused mid-rap, suddenly studying me, as if I were the wrong label on the wrong shelf. Put everything back, I said, now. Chelsea lifted a key between 2 fingers, the old brass one, clutched like proof of blessing. It's not stealing if it's for your recovery, she said softly. Mom gave us the key. You'll thank us later. I held her gaze so she'd see I was done thanking. Sirens flowered somewhere far away and started coming closer. In the corner, by the ladder, Derek slid a folded paper into his jacket pocket. I didn't know what it was, only that the edge peeked out like a secret that intended to survive tonight. The AC hummed on, steady as a heartbeat. And for the first time since my parents said the word addict, I felt something colder than fear, certainty. They weren't going to stop at this. People who build a story this big don't stop at the first no. I kept the line open with dispatch and said the only sentence that still belonged to me. This is my house. This is my property. They don't get to rename it. The sirens got loud enough to touch. Blue lights washed over my lilac hydrangeas like a false dawn. Before the sirens fully settled, the 2 men I didn't recognize, buyers, by the branded totes, froze with a kind of professional flinch. They were mid-wrap on a 6-pack of Burgundy, newsprint rustling like dry leaves. Derek, at my most valuable section, kept working for a heartbeat longer, as if momentum could make this ethical. Ma'am, one of the buyers said, setting the bottle down carefully. We were told. You were told wrong, I said. This property is mine. Those bottles are mine. You're leaving. Chelsea tilted her phone toward me, already recording. Just breathe, Odd, she cooed, the way people talk to toddlers and the newly feral. This is going to help you. You'll see it later. I held her gaze and didn't blink. The officers arrived with the weary alertness of people who've seen everything and no longer believe in plot twists. The older one, badge 412, scanned the room, took in the climate control, the racking, the absence of empty glasses. The younger one let his eyes run along my labeling system with the accidental reverence of a person who alphabetizes their spice rack. Whose residence? 412 asked. Mine, I said, already holding out my ID. Audrey Caldwell. Deeds in my name. There's video on the porch camera of the entry. They used a key they were not authorized to use. Which we have, Chelsea chimed in, waving the brass key like a hall pass granted by the king of morality. Mom and Dad gave it to us so we could start the process. This is an intervention. Our family consulted a counselor. Counselors don't override property law, the younger officer said, mild and very done. Derek tried on a smile that fit like a counterfeit label. Look, officer, this is a medical situation. We're removing triggers so she can... Sir, 4 and 12 cut in. Put the bottle down. Step away from the shelving. For the first time, Derek obeyed quickly. The older buyer approached with his hands visible. He held out a clipboard with an invoice attached. We were asked to appraise and purchase a curated segment, he said, tone shifting toward contrition. We have a buy sheet for $30,000. My laugh came out too sharp. For a $100,000 selection. The buyer winced. We assumed the consignor understood market deltas. We don't get asked to audit people's families. Consider this your free ethics seminar, the younger officer said. Gather your things. The buyers backed away fast, as if the air itself had turned to glass. Everyone puts everything back now, 412 said, and something about his voice made even Chelsea stop filming. Then you all leave. No, Chelsea said, tiny but stubborn. This is love. I saw it then. The scaffolding my family had built, every plank labeled care. They'd climb it to whatever height necessary and call it heaven. Put it back, I repeated, my voice so steady it surprised me. What followed was a slow-motion reversal. Newspaper unwrapped, bottles replaced. I watched fingers I grew up sharing board games with handle glass I'd saved for milestones. Wedding toasts not yet imagined. The night my life might finally feel like it belonged to me all the way through. 3 bottles didn't make it. A slip, a clink that wasn't set down, but impact, a gasp. Then the thready, unmistakable trickle as a $400 Barolo bled down the concrete and into the floor's hairline seams. It looked indecent, like a wound trying to choose a direction. Casualties of recovery, Derek muttered. Say that again, I said softly. He didn't. When the racks were full again, labels fussed wrong by people who don't know not to touch the face, we did a tense inventory by flashlight app. My hands shook just once, signing the officer's statement. He didn't miss it. You have every right to press charges, 412 said, neutral. Not tonight, I said. Tonight I want my house empty and my door lock changed again. He eyed the brass key in Chelsea's hand. How did you get in? Our parents' emergency key, she said, chin lifting, like reciting an oath. Emergency, he repeated, flat. This wasn't one. Upstairs, the buyers left fast enough to leave apology in their wake. The officers followed them out. On the threshold, 412 paused. Ma'am, document everything. And if there's a notary involved anywhere down this road, get names now. The word notary snapped against a memory. My aunt's Facebook tag earlier in the week. I saw the name again, hovering like a watermark. I made a note in When They Pretend I Agreed. Notary tag, Aunt Elle's post, Tuesday, 2:11 p.m. As the last cruiser rolled away, the night collapsed in around the house. The quiet was too loud. My foyer smelled faintly of newsprint and broken fruit. Chelsea and Derek stood there, suddenly small without authority's borrowed light. The key glinted between Chelsea's fingers. You're calling the police on your own family? She whispered, raw disbelief grazing hysteria. You're sick. I'm sober, I said, and I'm done. She pushed past me. Derek followed, brushing my shoulder with stacked regret. On the walkway, she turned back, holding her phone up like a mirror. We're documenting your volatility, she said, brittle. For the specialist, for the judge. The lock turned behind them with the clean, new click of something that still respected me. I set the deadbolt and leaned my forehead against the wood. The house exhaled with me. In the kitchen, my phone pulsed itself toward heat. Mom, how could you do that to your sister? She was helping. I'm shaking so hard I can't type. Dad, you've shown your priorities, bottles over blood. We'll try again when you're ready. Chelsea, I forgive you. This is the disease talking. Derek, we could have sold just the top tier. Easy. Quick cash for treatment. You made it hard. Extended family chimed in, vague posting concern like confetti. A cousin sent a YouTube link, understanding the high-functioning addict. A family friend slid into my DMs with a prayer hands emoji and a question about my program. I put my phone face down and did the only ritual left that still felt like control, an inventory. I moved through the cellar, label by label, reading each bottle like a name at a vigil. When I reached the corner Derek had plundered, a folded paper peeked out from behind a bin divider. I slipped it free with 2 fingers. Evidence of addiction. Audrey C. Typed, tabbed, photos embedded, my cellar from multiple angles, lighting softened in a way that made volume look like frenzy. Bullet points. Excessive variety indicates loss of control. Detailed organization suggests obsessive behavior. Financial analysis, $40,000 in 8 years equals $13.70 on day feeding addiction. Social isolation markers. Lives alone. No visible children's items. Stockpiles, alcohol in basement. On the last page, a line itemized total ABV on site, as if I planned to IV drip the entire cellar. At the bottom, prepared for Dr. Karen Matthews, intervention lead. The print date was 2 weeks old, predating tonight, predating the wake-up call. They hadn't escalated because of anything I did. They'd escalated because this was the plan. I slid the packet into a sleeve protector and added it to my growing file. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up the security footage, and emailed the whole stream to my attorney with the subject line B&E with attempted conversion, video plus names. I attached stills of the buyers, the clipboard, Chelsea's key held up like a trophy. I CC'd myself and Ethan. The house stayed very still. In the stillness, I felt my pulse slow back to something human. On the counter sat the village burgundy I'd meant to open for my parents 2 weeks earlier. I touched the foil, then let go. Not tonight. Tonight I wanted water and a locked door between me and the story they were writing for me. I went room to room, resetting small normal things they'd skewed. The hand towel angle, a chair pulled too far from the table, the coasters they'd stacked with thoughtless circles. In my bedroom, I changed the pillowcase, not because anyone had been there, but because suddenly I needed something fresh under my cheek. At 1:12 a.m., a new message landed, an unfamiliar number. Dr. Karen Matthews. Audrey, your family's attempt to help has been met with significant resistance. I'm available to facilitate a structured path forward. Denial is predictable at this stage. I stared until the words stopped meaning anything. Then I forwarded it to the attorney too. Sleep came in pieces. 3 minutes here, 8 there, stitched together with the squeak of memory. Each time I woke, I could feel the old brass key like a coin against my palm, even though it wasn't mine anymore. In the morning, Ethan let himself in with the code he'd memorized, but never abused. He found me at the kitchen table, hair unbrushed, t-shirt borrowed from him, the evidence packet opened like a dissection. He took it in with one long inhale. We escalate, he said simply. Cease and desist today. Formal notice to your parents, Chelsea and Derek. We document outreach to your work, so no one can rewrite you there. And we talk to a private investigator about whatever specialist means. I nodded, grateful for the way he said we like a fact and not a favor. Oh, I added, suddenly remembering the flicker of numbers in my head. One of the buyers had a receipt on a clipboard. The number started with 8279. I don't know why I clocked it. Ethan smiled, a small, surprise thing. Because your brain is a net. We'll find it. Down in the cellar, the AC hummed on schedule. The broken Barolo had dried into a pale rust smudge I'd clean later. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and listened until the sound became a baseline under my skin again. Then I went upstairs to draft letters with a lawyer's voice, my name on them like armor, my boundaries spelled out in 12-point font. At the bottom, I signed with a hand that didn't shake. Before I hit send, another notification blinked. Mom, family dinner on Saturday? Just us. No surprises. Please say yes. I typed no, then deleted it. I thought of Badge 412's warning. If there's a notary involved, get names now. I thought of the Facebook tag. I thought of the brass key shining in Chelsea's hand. Then I wrote, I'll come by for 1 hour. If anyone else is there, I leave. Ethan read it. You sure? No, I said, but I want the proof they won't stop. Somewhere, I swear the house creaked in solidarity. Or maybe it was just old wood adjusting to new pressure. Same sound, different meaning. Saturday evening looked ordinary enough. Gold light on autumn leaves, my parents' porch light glowing steady. But the moment I turned into their driveway, I saw it. Too many cars. Chelsea's SUV, Derek's truck, Aunt Linda's beige sedan, 4 others I didn't recognize. My stomach tightened like a fist. Inside, noise, voices, familiar, overlapping, rehearsed. I opened the door. 20 people turned to stare. And in the middle, at the coffee table, a woman in a navy blazer stood up. A folder lay open before her, embossed in gold letters, Audrey Intervention. Mom's eyes darted away. Dad looked at the floor. Ms. Caldwell, the woman said, smiling in that steady, trained way. I'm Dr. Karen Matthews. Your family loves you very much. They've asked me to facilitate today's discussion about your addiction. I actually laughed. One sharp sound. Addiction? Please, she said. If you'll just sit, we can begin. Behind me, my Uncle Robert and Cousin Kevin shifted to block the door. I sat and hit record on my phone, screen down. Dr. Matthews nodded at Chelsea. Go ahead. Chelsea rose, a stack of papers in hand. Audrey, your obsession with wine has isolated you from everyone who cares about you. You called the police on family trying to help. You drink to escape. We love you, but we won't enable you. Derek followed. You've built a cellar instead of a life. We're not angry. We're scared. Then Mom. Her voice trembled. I stay awake imagining your funeral. I already know what I'll wear. Dad's turn. You've become someone we don't recognize. This house, this collection, it's a sickness. Even Aunt Linda got her moment. At Christmas, you talked about wine for 20 minutes. I knew then something was wrong. Each voice stacked like bricks around me until there was no air left. Finally, Dr. Matthews lifted her folder. Let's talk solutions. We've prepared the paperwork. Chelsea handed over a manila envelope. Inside, legal forms. Power of attorney, temporary conservatorship, property transfer authorization. All neatly filled out. Mom's voice came soft. It's just until you get treatment, honey. Then the house will be safe with family. Treatment? I said. I'm not in treatment. I'm not an addict. Derek pushed a spreadsheet toward me. We calculated fair handling fees. The house is worth $450,000. After your program, we'll hold the equity for you. You'll have $300,000 left in trust. I stood. You're trying to steal my house. Dr. Matthews' tone sharpened. Resistance is expected. Your addiction is fighting for survival. I'm calling 911. Instant chaos. Mom crying. Grandma clutching her chest. Aunt Linda yelling, Let her speak! Dr. Matthews held up a hand. Let her go. She isn't ready. I walked out through a tunnel of pleading voices. Chelsea shouted after me, We'll be here when you hit bottom. Outside, the cool air hit like glass. By the time I reached my car, my phone was already vibrating. Mom, you embarrassed the whole family. We were trying to help. Dad, you need to face this before it destroys everything. Dr. Matthews, denial is part of the condition. When you're ready, we'll continue the process. I sent every message to my lawyer, then silence. But silence, I've learned, is never empty. It's just the inhale before another storm. 3 days later, my inbox flooded again. Dr. Matthews' office emails. Reminder. Follow-up session. Facebook posts from relatives, praying for Audrey's healing. Aunt Linda's status. Addiction destroys families, but we keep loving anyway. Someone uploaded my photo from a charity wine event with the caption, Before it took hold. My boss called me in, voice awkwardly gentle. HR received some messages from your parents. Concern about a drinking issue? I showed him my tracking app. 2 glasses last week. He exhaled, relieved and angry for me. Take care of yourself, Caldwell. You've got sharks circling. That night, Ethan brought Thai food and hugged me until my spine unlocked. They're not going to stop, he said. They've built a story, and now they have to prove it. Then I'll let them talk, I said quietly, while I build the record. Still, I couldn't stop seeing their faces. Those teary eyes insisting love justified everything. Weeks passed. The posts kept coming, then vanished after my lawyer's cease and desist. My parents' messages turned colder, more distant. For a moment, I believed maybe it was over. I should have known better, because 3 weeks later, my neighbor called in the middle of a workday, voice shaky. Hey, Audrey, there's a for sale sign on your lawn. I froze. What? Century 21. And a realtor's walking people through your living room right now. I was 30 minutes away. I didn't even hang up before I was in the car. By the time I turned onto my street, strangers were walking out of my front door, smiling, chatting, while a Century 21 sign gleamed from my lawn like a tombstone. A woman in a blazer, realtor badge shining, waved at me. You must be Mr. Caldwell. So glad you could join us. I'm Ms. Caldwell, I snapped, shoving the car door open. This is my house. What are you doing? She blinked, startled, then checked her phone. I spoke with your brother, Chelsea. This says you're under medical conservatorship. He's your guardian. My throat went dry. You've been lied to. Inside, more strangers. A young couple trailed through my kitchen while Chelsea stood by the fireplace, talking about light renovations. Derek leaned in the doorway, calm, rehearsed. You're back early again, he said, as if it were déjà vu. You forged a sale agreement, I said. That's fraud. We're executing the court's order, Chelsea replied smoothly. It's for your protection. Mom said you signed medical papers during treatment. I wasn't in treatment. She smiled like someone who'd been coached. Denial still in play, I see. The realtor frowned, sensing rot beneath the polish. Wait, can I see the order? Chelsea handed her a folder. Inside, temporary conservatorship, County of Litchfield. My name typed clean, my signature flawless. But it wasn't mine. I called 911 with the same voice I'd used months earlier. Cold, sure, stripped of shock. West Hartford Police, I said. Active real estate fraud, forged documents, suspect on site. Chelsea's eyes flickered panic for the first time. You're proving our point, she hissed. Aggressive, paranoid, exactly what the doctor said. Within minutes, squad cars boxed the driveway. Officers cleared the house, the buyers fled, and I handed over the fake papers with trembling precision. My attorney arrived an hour later, laptop open before the cruisers even pulled out. What we uncovered over the next 72 hours felt like watching my own life rewritten in real time. They had forged everything. A rehab admission form dated 6 weeks ago. Medical evaluations with a psychiatrist's signature lifted from an old internship license. Financial statements showing reckless wine purchases. Even a social media page titled Audrey's Recovery Journey, complete with stolen photos and posts thanking family for support during sobriety. Chelsea and Derek had filed for emergency conservatorship in another county, claiming I'd been institutionalized. Using Dr. Matthews's report, they convinced a sleepy judge to approve it. Then they listed my house, for sale. When police raided their home, the puzzle finished assembling itself. Practice sheets of my signature. A binder titled Property Plan. Pinterest boards labeled Our New Victorian. School transfer forms for their kids. Text threads between them and my parents, strategizing how to secure assets before relapse. My parents had even called my employer multiple times, leaving voicemails about my mental deterioration and mandatory leave for treatment. HR had dutifully logged them all. The prosecutor's summary when it came was brutally concise. Build a false addiction narrative. Create a paper trail. Obtain emergency conservatorship through fraud. Liquidate assets. Transfer proceeds to Chelsea and Derek. All of it, for $500,000 in property and collectibles. I sat in the courthouse hallway while investigators cataloged the evidence. My mother cried into a tissue 3 doors down. My father stared blankly at the wall. Derek kept insisting they'd been saving me from myself. When the officers led them out in cuffs, Chelsea looked right at me. You could have just let us help. Help? I said softly. You tried to erase me. That night, Ethan and I boxed up my cellar, the real bottles, the ones that still mattered, and moved them into climate-controlled storage until the trial. Each clink sounded like punctuation. Proof, evidence, survival. Somewhere under the exhaustion, anger began to cool into something sharper, resolve. Because if they'd built an entire fiction on paper, I'd build the truth on record. The trial came fast. The evidence was ironclad. Chelsea and Derek were charged with forgery, fraud, and attempted grand larceny. My parents faced counts of conspiracy and falsifying legal documents. Dr. Karen Matthews lost her license within days. Turns out I wasn't her first high-functioning addict turned income source. I sat in court every day, spine straight, hands folded, forcing myself to look at them. Chelsea wept on cue. Derek glared at me like I'd ruined a business deal. My mother sobbed that love isn't a crime. My father stared ahead, gray and hollow. The prosecutor's voice was merciless. They didn't want treatment for Ms. Caldwell. They wanted property. Security footage of the break-in, the forged rehab forms, screenshots of posts and texts, the typed evidence of addiction packet. Every lie they'd told came back to testify. Ethan sat behind me every session. Sometimes I'd feel his hand brush my shoulder when the nausea crept in, one small reminder that I still belonged to reality. When the verdict was read, the world went silent. Chelsea, 18 months in prison, 5 years probation, restitution, Derek, 12 months probation, my parents, probation and fines, Dr. Matthews, stripped of license, awaiting sentencing. The notary who authenticated the fake documents, arrested. Even then, Chelsea stood, tear-streaked, and said, "You'll regret destroying the family over wine." The judge leaned forward. "She didn't destroy it. You did. You wrote fiction and tried to live in it." When the gavel hit, I exhaled for the first time in months. Afterward, Mom tried to reach me in the hallway. "Please, Audrey, we can fix this." "You already fixed it," I said. "Just not the way you planned." I left before she could speak again. In the weeks that followed, I repainted the house, changed every lock again, replaced every light bulb they'd touched. The cellar felt different now, emptier, but clean. When the restitution money arrived, I bought 2 new racks, restored 3 damaged vintages, and enrolled in the final sommelier certification course. The night I passed, Ethan brought over friends. We opened the bottle they'd once tried to sell, the 1982 Chateau Margaux. Its cork released with a sigh, like relief itself. We drank slowly, surrounded by people who had chosen to be there. At midnight, Ethan leaned against the bar and said quietly, "You won." I shook my head. "No, I just stopped losing." He smiled, reached for my hand. "That's still a kind of victory." Months later, I sometimes still get anonymous emails. "Forgiveness heals. Family is forever." I don't open them. Instead, once a month, I pick one bottle they tried to steal, invite people who never called me broken, and share it. Each pour feels like reclaiming oxygen. My collection stands at 850 bottles now. Same seller, new meaning. Every label glows under the soft light, not as proof of obsession, but of survival. Some people say blood is thicker than water. Maybe so. But wine tells the truth when everyone else is lying. And every sip still tastes like freedom.